Begin today the Gemara on Daf Samach Vav, at the beginning of the Yom of the Mishnah. Mishnah continues regarding the halachas of skila, regarding different avedas that are chayiv skila. Zaktei Lige Mishnah hamachalal es haShabbos, one that desecrates Shabbos. This was already mentioned before in the Mishnah that this is one of the cases that you chayiv skila. So the Mishnah now here clarifies that it has to be bedavar shechayavin al zadoine kares. It's if it's regarding something that if you do it deliberately, then the einish is kares. That's if there's no warning. If there's no warning, then it's kares. If there's a hasra, if there's a warning, then it's skila. Val shegigase chatos. And if it was done by mistake, if it was done b'shegig, then it's chatos. It's this kind of malacha that if it's done with a hasra, that there would be skila. So Rashi here says that if it's something that's done that there's no maisa, then you're not chayev chatos. If it's a chil Shabbos without a maisa, or if it's a chil Shabbos that was misasik, the Torah only has to be a maleches machsheves. We had before in the Gemara an example where a person thought that he's lifting something up, which is talush, which is detached from the ground, and he pulls it and he sees that he detached it. He wasn't mechavim bechlal to this maisa. It's not only b'shegig. The act itself that he did, it's a misasik. He was trying to do something else. In such a case, there's no chatos. There won't be any. It's not shaykh over here. There's no chatos. Okay, now the Gemara says on this, the klal from the Mishnah, you understand, the ikem midi, the chil Shabbos have. There are cases where it is a chil Shabbos, ve'en chayavin loyal shigigase chatos, ve'loyal zadoine kares. And you're not going to be chayav b'shegig, there won't be any chatos, and b'mezid, there won't be any kares. And that's even if it's a malacha that's done as a proper ma'isa, maleches machsheves, but still not mitzad the chisaron of the ma'isa. Mitzad it's not categorized in this category of shegig chatas and zadon kares. That's what it's mashma from the Mishnah. Now, what is this case? Ma'hi says the Gemara tchumen v'aliba de Rabbi Akiva. One option is the isser of tchumen. According to Rabbi Akiva, he learns out from Psukim that there's an isser of tchumen going out of the tchum Shabbos. There's the tchum Shabbos of 2,000 ames that everybody agrees is only midrabanan. But then there's a tchum Shabbos of a mill or Yud Beis mill, that is, Yud Beis mill. So over there, that's Isam Minat Torah, according to Rabbi Akiva. So even if one leaves the Tchum on Shabbos, it's still not in the Malachas of Shabbos. There's only 39 Malachas. And Rabbi Akiva holds that the Tchum is also Isam Minat Torah on Shabbos, but it's not one of the 39 Malachas, it's not called the Malacha, and you're not Chayav Chatos, there's no Kaddis on this, and there's no Skila. It's one option of what the Mishnah is coming to exclude. Or another option is Havare va'alibe de Rabbi Yosi. Havare, when one lights a fire, so we had before in the Gemara a few times, the Torah singles out this malacha from the other malachas, and according to Rabbi Yosi, the reason why the Torah singles it out, le'savaru eish, is to say that you only over alav. But it's not, there's no chi of chatos on this. And that's what the Mishnah is excluding here. Also mentioned before that one that curses a father or a mother, he won't be chayiv skila for this, unless he's cursing them using the Eibishter's name. If the klala was using a kinui of the Eibishter's name, and Rashi gives either examples of other names of the Eibishter, Shindalad Yud, or Tzvois, or even just using Chanan Verachim, which are descriptions of the praise of the Eibishter, and that's the klala. Rab Meir mechayev. Rab Meir says he'll still be chayev. V'chachamim paitrin. However, chachamim say that he's potter. So the Gemara man chachamim. Who are the chachamim in the Mishnah that says that it'll be potter? Rab Nachem bar Rab Yosi. It's an opinion of Rab Nachem bar Rab Yosi. As it says in the Braise, the Tanya, Rab Nachem bar Rab Yosi Yomer. When it says in the pasuk benokva Hashem Yumos, that he spelled out the name of Hashem, the opposite of a blessing, and he has to die. Now, this pasuk, the simple pshat of this pasuk, is actually talking about Birchas Hashem, when one blesses Hashem's name. The beginning of that pasuk is V'noikiv Shem Mois Yumos, and then that pasuk concludes, and it repeats. It says a second time, B'nokv Shem Yumos. So on this, the Gemara asks, Ma Tamud Loima. Why does it say it a second time in that pasuk? Ma Tamud Loima Shem. Why does it have to say again over here Shem? It already said in the beginning of the pasuk. So according to Rab Nachem bar Rab Yosi, we learn out from there, it's not talking about regarding blessing Hashem's name, but rather limit on the kal of the imay. It's coming to teach regarding the one curses a father or a mother, that there as well, it is not chayv unless the klala was in the name of Hashem. So the pasuk there, B'nok v'shem yumas, is not talking about, it's used for something else. It's an extra pasuk that's used for this. That's according to Rabbi Menachem bar Rabbi Yossi. But Rashi here brings that we had earlier in the Gemara, it said that the Benak V'Shem Yumus, you learn something else out from that. There the Gemara said that you're not chayiv by Birchas Hashem, by one blesses Hashem's name, you're not chayiv until you Mevarech Shem Hashem B'Shem. One, like the Mishnah, they brought the example, Yakke Yosi Es Yosi. When one says, the name of Hashem should bless Hashem's name. That's the only way that you'll be chayiv, when it's the opposite of blessing for Hashem's name. So according to Rab Meir, he doesn't hold that you darshan this pasuk to teach me that over here, by when one curses a father or a mother, that it also has to be with the Shem Hashem mamish, with the Shem and not any other kinui. You darshan it to something else. Tana Rabbanon, in the Brayso we learned about this Isser of Mekal of Imai. It says in the pasuk Ish. Now, Matamad Ish. Why does it say a double lashon of Ish? In the pasuk there it says Ish Ashi Yekalas of V'Simai. Why does it say twice? The rabbis, the Ish comes to add Bas, that it's even a daughter, and therefore that would include also a Tumtum V'Mandragonis, which is a suffix, a Zachar, or a suffix and a Keva. So if we're including both a Bas, just like a Ish, a man, a son, so then it includes a Tumtum and Andragonis as well. Then it says Asher Yekalel Esav Vesimai, when one curses a father and a mother. So now when you read this pasuk, Ein Liela Aviv Imai, it sounds like that he would only be chayiv misa if he cursed both the father and the mother. Aviv Shaloi Imai, Imai Shaloi Aviv Minayin. How do I know if it only cursed one and not the other, that it'll still be chayiv? Talmud Loima, the conclusion of that pasuk, it says again, Aviv Imai Kilel Damav Boy. Why does it conclude this again? Aviv Imai Kilel Damav Boy. Aviv Kilel Imai Kilel. So from here we learn that even if one curses just a father or just a mother separately, he'll be chayiv misa. And Rashi says the way it's learned out is because in the beginning of the pasuk it says the word yikalel near the word as aviv, and in the end of the pasuk when it repeats it again it says aviv imai. Over there it says the word kilel near the word v'imai. So that's how I learn out that the kilel goes on the aviv separately and on the imai separately. David Rabbi Yeshia. That's how Rabbi Yeshia learns out the source for this. Rabbi Yonasan, however, Rabbi Yonasan says you don't need to learn it out from the extra words in the end of the pasuk. Mashma shneim ke'echad, or mashma shneim, or mashma echad b'fnei atzmai. That when you see these words, ish ayikalas avaves imai, it could both mean that he's mekalel both the father and the mother, but it actually could also mean that he's mekalel either the father or the mother. It can mean separately. The rule is when the Torah writes v'es, ve, so it doesn't actually mean and. It doesn't mean both together. Unless the Torah specifies and adds the word yachtov when together, then we know that it means together. The source of Rabbi Yonasan is by the pasuk of Lesachresh b'shoir u'b'chamoir yachtov. Over there it says don't plow using an ox and a donkey, and then the pasuk adds yachtov. Why does it have to have the word yachtov? It just said shoir u'b'chamoir. So the vav means both together. The fact that the Torah adds the word yachtov shows you that if it wouldn't add yachtov, I would say either the shoir or the chamoir. So that's a rule over here as well. When it says aviv ve'imai, since it doesn't say yachtov, so it means or the father or the mother. So therefore, you don't need the source from the end of the pasuk. Now Rashi brings it. So what, according to Rabbi Yonasan, what do you learn out from the end of the pasuk when it says again aviv imai kil dam of bay? You learn out from there a different halacha that this chiyuv for cursing a father and mother applies even after they passed away. Yeah, that's the halacha. We learned this yesterday in the Rambam. This halacha that you learned from the end of the pasuk. Okay, now the Brayso goes on to say, the pasuk says, "Mois yumos," which misa is this? Beskila, the misa of skila. Atoyim beskila. You say that this is skila. Oyena ela bachas mikol misa samuras b'tayra. Maybe it's another misa. So the answer is no. Nemakan. The pasuk in the end here says, "Dom of boy," uses this expression that his blood is in him. The nemal alon, and then it says by the pasuk of oiv and yidoini, Demei and bam, and there when it says Demei and bam, the pasuk clearly spells out be'avan yirgemu, that it's skila, and then it says Demei and bam. Mala alom b'skila, just like there's skila av kam b'skila. Here as well, anytime it uses the term dam of boy, Demei and boy, it's always skila. So the Gemara, oyne shamano. In this pasuk, we see the punishment for one that curses a father and a mother. As hada minayin, where's the Torah warning about this? You can't give a einish unless there's a clear warning in the Torah. So the whole pasuk, all it says is ish ashikal asav v'simai mais yumas av v'mikil damavai. The pasuk just talks about the einish. What's the source for the warning not to curse a father and a mother? So there's actually, as we'll see here from the continuation of the Gemara, there is no clear pasuk in the Torah where it says a warning about not cursing a father and a mother. The Gemara is going to bring 3 other places where we find the issur of cursing regarding Yidden. One by a dayan, by a judge, another by a nasi or a melech, and the third by a cheresh, leisakal cheresh. And from the fact that it says all three, the Gemara is going to learn out a hazhara that applies also to a father and mother. Okay, let's see how the Gemara explains this. It says the Gemara, Talmud loymar, elikim loisakal v'gaimer. So now what is this pasuk talking about? So elikim loisakal, the way the Gemara understands this pasuk now is that elikim is actually to be read elihim, and it's talking about the bezdin, that one should not curse a judge of the bezdin. So therefore the Brisa says as follows: if the father is a judge, so then the fact that you're not allowed to curse him, the warning is right here in this pasuk, not to curse a judge. If the father is a nasi, a leader in Yidden, or a melech, a leader or a king, so then the fact that you're not allowed to curse the father is because he's a nasi. So there's another pasuk that says clearly not to curse a nasi. So, however, we still don't have a source of a warning for not to curse a father if he's not a dayan, he's not a nasi. What's the source for this? So I'll tell you as follows. I'll say, I could learn out and I can compare. I'll learn from both of them together. You can't learn from one separately because you'll say that the father is not a dayan or he's not a nasi, so how could you compare? But the fact that the Torah repeats and writes the Isser of Klala by both Dayan and Nasi, I can learn from both of them. Why? Says the Gemara, because Loiri Nasi Kiri Dayan, you can't compare a Nasi, a king, to a judge, Veloiri Dayan Kiri Nasi. And you can't compare a judge to the Nasi. And the Gemara will explain why. So this is what's called always in the Gemara, Atzad Hashave. When you see the Torah says something and it repeats it twice, and one is not the same as the other, so what that tells you is that the cause of the din that it says there is not based on one, it's not based on the other, but there has to be a tzad hashava. That's something that's similar by both of them that I could now learn out from there and apply it somewhere else. The Gemara explains, Loidi dayan kedi nasi, you can't compare a judge to the nasi. Sha'arei dayan, when it comes to a judge, when the Torah is saying that you have to give him the proper honor, you're not allowed to curse him, ata mitzvah alay ra'asei. You're commanded to listen, to follow the halacha that he paskins. That's the cover. That's the halacha by the dayan. Kiri nasi, and that doesn't compare to the nasi, which is a king. By a king, you're not commanded to follow the halachas that he paskins. That's not what a king is. On the other hand, you can't compare the nasi to the dayan. By a nasi, if one rebels against the nasi or against the king, so then you chayiv misa. Rashi brings, it says this pasuk by Yeshua, which was a nasi, or is the king of the Yidden, then Kodesh Asher Yamra Aspicha or Bichayev Misa. Kiri Dayan, and the judge doesn't have that halacha. Shiatem Mitzvah Alam Rasa. If one rebels against the judge, he listens to his halacha, but he's mounting a rebellion against him. You're not Chayev Misa for this. So they're not the same. Each one has their own maila. And the Torah says by both of them that there's an issur to curse. Now Hatzad Hashav Shabem. So what's equal by both of them? What's the reason that we see that's the same? Shehem Ba'amcha. That the dayan and the nasi is within Klal Yisrael, they're part of Yidden. V'atam muzar al and you warn not to curse them. So afani yavi, so I could compare and bring a source for the warning not to curse a father from here as well. Avicha, your father, sheba'amcha, is part of Klal Yisrael. V'atam muzar al and we compare and say that you're warned also not to curse him. That's the Azhara. But the Gemara asks, how could you compare? Mala halon or mala tzad hashava shebehen, these two that we just learned out, but there's a tzad hashava. What are they equal with? Sheken gedulasa and garmalem, their level of greatness. That's the reason why you're not allowed to curse them, whether as a judge, whether as a king. But it's their level of greatness. By a father that's a fine yid, but he doesn't have that level of greatness. How could you compare? Talmud Loima, so there's a third pasuk. It says loisakal cheirish, that you should not curse one that's deaf. Beumlalim sheba'amcha akasav medaber. So the pasuk here is speaking about someone that's unfortunate, and he's a cheresh, and there the Torah is saying not to curse him. And therefore from here we could learn out and compare, use this also as a source for the warning not to curse a father. But the Gemara says, how can you learn out from the cheresh? Mal cheresh, a person that's deaf, sheken charishase garmaloi. It's the fact that he's deaf, and therefore he's a person that has tsar from the fact that he's deaf, and you're adding more tsar to him by cursing him. So therefore, over there, the Torah asked it. So you can learn out from there to apply to a father. So I'll tell you about Nasi v'dayin yichichu. Okay, so we'll go back to the Nasi and the Dayin. There the Torah says you're not allowed to curse them. Nasi v'dayash can't do loss garmaleh. But over there by the Nasi and the Dayan, it's their greatness. That's the reason that you're not allowed to curse them. Cheresh yichiach. You go back to the cheresh. V'chazar adin, and this goes back and forth between the two of them. Loyri zekerizeh, loyri zekerizeh. You can't compare them. So when the Torah says the halacha not to curse both by the dayan and the nasi and by the cheresh, so that has to be, you learn out from this that there's something that's the common denominator. What's the same by them? We come back to the same tzad shava that the Torah is saying that if it's a yid, is he part of Klal Yisrael? And you're being warned not to curse. This is the source also regarding a father. He's part of Klal Yisrael. And you're warned not to curse him. But again, the Gemara asks on this tzad shava, how could you learn from all these three together? Here you see the Torah's warning not to curse in all these cases, but they're all different. They're not regular people, whether different in the Gedula, that they're greater, or different in Umlalin, that it's a person that is suffering and he's unfortunate. But how could you bring a source from here, not to curse a father that's healthy, that's normal, and a regular person? So therefore the Gemara says, what would we just have here? We had three different sources where the Torah is saying not to curse. So Elohim Cain, the source is as follows. Nichtev kra oy elikim v'cheresh. The Torah only has to write two. Either to write the case of not to curse elikim v'cheresh, which would mean the dayan, the judge, and the deaf person, oy nasi v'cheresh, or the Torah would write not to curse a king and this deaf person. That would be enough. Because the point of here is that the Torah has to write one case of a person that's unfortunate, that you're not allowed to curse him, and the other case of a gadol, of a person that's great, that you're not allowed to curse him. Why does the Torah have to write two examples, two cases of a person that is a gadol, that you're not allowed to curse him? You have already the tzad shava that they're mishunin. That's what the point of the question of here is, that the tzad shava of these, that they're mishunin, that they're different. So it would be enough to write one of greatness and one that's umlal, the cheresh. Elikim lamali. So if so, you still have something that's extra here. Why is the Torah writing the case of Elikim if it could have just said nasi? And therefore from this I learn out that this pasuk is extra. So therefore, even though it should have been talking about a dayan, but it's not needed for that. If you don't need it for that, this is a source to say that one is warned not to curse a father. Okay, but now here though, the Gemara comes back to the point that I mentioned in the beginning, that there's really two pirushim, and when it says L'kim lo yisakalel, is this speaking about a dayan, as the Gemara was assuming until now, and therefore you read the pasuk Elohim lo yisakalel, about a judge, or is it really a warning not to curse the Eibishter? Says the Gemara, the whole conclusion you came to here is good. That you read it Elohim, that it's speaking about a dayan. But there's another opinion that this Elohim is actually talking about the Eibishter. It's a warning not to curse the opposite of blessing by the Eibishter. So then you don't have that extra pasuk here. There's no source that the pasuk is saying another time of cursing that you could say that it applies to a father. The Tanya, as we learned in the Braisa Machlokes about this, Elohim Chayil Divrei Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel says Elohim is a mundane. It's referring to a judge, not the Eibishter. Rabbi Kiva says Elohim Kodesh. It's referring to the Eibishter. It's a warning not to the opposite of blessing on the Eibishter. V'Tanya Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Aimer Asara Lemevarachas Hashem Yinayim. What's the source of one that blesses Hashem's name? Tamalayim Elohim Loisakalim. So the Gemara answers. Okay, so no, it works as follows. The opinion that says that when it says here Elohim, it's referring to a bezdin. According to his opinion, where is the source that one may not bless Hashem's name? He learns out kodesh from chayil. If you shouldn't bless or you shouldn't curse, then a dayan. So then kol shekain, we learn out from here that the same applies to the Eibishter. Says the Gemara, if so, the opposite is also true. Elikim Kaidesh. The opinion that says that Elikim is Kaidesh, Gamirinon Chayil Mikaidesh. I learn out Chayil from Kaidesh that if you're not allowed to bless the Eibish's name, I learn out from there also that this applies to the Bezdin as well, to a dayan of the Bezdin as well. The Gemara is going to explain right now how that is, because Misvare doesn't make sense to learn out Chayil from Kaidesh. But the point that the Gemara is answering is, it comes out that if so, we still have an extra azhara here. Because right over here, I have a source to say that you're not allowed to curse a judge. So why does it have to say that you're not allowed to curse a king? So it comes out when it says nasi ba'amcha loisar, that's extra. If that's extra, im eine inyan for the nasi, I learn it out that that's a warning for the father, not to curse a father. But the Gemara here right away addresses and says, what does this mean? How can we say that according to the opinion that Elikim is Kaidesh, that I learn out from here, not that it also applies to a dayan, that's Chayil as well? Says the Gemara, if you're going to say like the opinion that says that Elohim is referring to a dayan, I can understand that you learn out that if you're not allowed to curse a dayan, the same applies also not to bless Hashem's name. But if Lakim refers to not blessing Hashem's name, how could you learn out chayil regarding a dayan from Kodesh from the Eibishter? Dilma Kodesh Azra Chayil Azar. The Eibishter is warning about not blessing the Eibishter's name, but not regarding a judge. Says the Gemara, you're right. It's not that we're comparing. You can't compare, but it's because of the language of the pasuk itself. Because imkain lichtav kra loy seikel. The lashon of the pasuk would be loy seikel, which means it shouldn't be light and shouldn't degrade Hashem's name. Which means blessing, the opposite of blessing on Hashem's name. My loy sekalel. Why does the pasuk say loy sekalel, an extra lamed? Shmamino tarti. This is teaching me, it's saying here a repetition, it's saying leisekalel, which goes on the Eibishter's name, and it also goes on a dayan, and therefore we learn out from here both. So therefore there is something extra here, and that extra azhara, so we have extra azhara which goes on the father, because as the Gemara pointed out, it says already 3 times not to curse by a cheresh, by a nasi, by a dayan, and therefore one of them is extra, and it goes on a father. Zok Mishnah haba. Al-Naira ha-Mayrasa. Going on to another case, which is Chayiv Skila, one that has a relation with a Naira Mayrasa. So the Naira Mayrasa is after the first stage of marriage. She's already an Eishes Ish, but she still lives in her father's house. She's not fully married. She didn't move in with her husband yet. So at this stage of Naira Mayrasa, you Chayiv Skila. By a full Eishes Ish, one's Mizana with an Eishes Ish, the Misa is Chenek. Here, it's Skila. So the Mishnah says there's details and conditions when this Naira Mirasa, when you mezana with the Naira Mirasa, will be Chayiv Skila. Ein Chayiv Achetei Naira. She has to be specifically a Naira, which is at the age of 12, between 12 and 12 and a half. She's a Naira. Me'orasa, she's only after the first stage of marriage, and Vihi Bevei Savia, and she's actually still living in her father's house. Now, what if the case over here is that 2 had a relation with this Naira Mayrasa, so Harishayim b'skila. The first one will be only skila. V'asheni b'chenek. And the second one will be only chenek, because now she's not in the simple pshat is because she's not a besula anymore. Once someone else had a relation with her, so now she's a beula, and therefore she'll be chayiv only chenek on this. Okay, now there's also another option of how to learn this. We'll see in the Gemara, because it's possible that the first person was boiler shaloi kedarka, which means that she's even going to be a besula after the first person was boiler, but still she'll only be chayiv chenek for the second person that was boiler. So we'll see in the Gemara. Okay, but the Gemara begins with the conditions that it said in the Mishnah by the Naira Mayrasa to be chayiv skila. So we learned in the Braisa, Naira, when it says in the pasuk Naira, that means veloy begeres. Not once she's a begeres, which is when she's already more mature, at the age of 12 and a half. Besula means veloy beula. Not that someone else was boiler before, she's a besula. Ma'irasa means veloy nesua. She's not fully married yet, there was no chuppah, she didn't move in with her husband. Bevei savia means, this is another detail, prat l'shamasar ha'av l'shluchei abal. The way it was in those times, that there was the edison, the first stage of marriage, and when it came to the time of the full chasana, so the husband would send shluchim to the house of his in-laws to bring the kala to him. They would make a whole procession, they would bring the kala to the house of the chassan. So if they already sent the shluchim, and she was given over to the hands of the shluchim to be brought to the husband, even though she didn't yet come to the husband, but she already left her father's home, the halacha of Naira Mayrasa to be chayav skila would not apply. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda said in the name of Rav about our Mishnah, Zu Divrei Rab Meir. Yeah. So Rav Yehuda said in the name of Rav, Zu Divrei Rab Meir. What it said in our Mishnah follows the opinion of Rab Meir. Why? Because as we'll see, the Gemara here is explaining that from the Mishnah you see that it has to be a Naira, which excludes not only a Begeres, as we just said, once she's 12 and a half, but it also excludes a Katana. A Katana also, if one is Mizana with a Katana, which is Mayrasa, will not be Chayav Skila. However, according to the Chachamim, Naira Mayrasa, when it says in the Torah, Naira Mayrasa, fill a Katana b'mashma. That includes a Katana as well. Now she brings the source of the Machlekes of Rab Meir and the Chachamim is actually not over here regarding this case of Naira Meirasa, but it's been to get to another case regarding a Naira, where the Torah uses the term Naira by someone that was Mizana with a Naira, and the pasuk there says that you have to pay a penalty of Chamishim Kesef, of 50 coins, and there there's a machlokes between Rab Meir and the Rab Chachamim if this applies dafka to a Naira or even to a Katana. The Gemara there explains the reason, the sources for this. So the same machlokes over here applies here regarding the Naira Meirasa. So according to Rab Meir, it excludes a Katana as well, and that's the pshat in our Mishnah when it said dafka and Naira. Amalei Rav Acha Medifti LeRavina. So Rav Acha Medifti asks Ravina, Mimai the Mastisa Rab Meir. How do you know to say that our Mishnah is Rab Meir? And when it says in our Mishnah Naira ulemuute Katana, it comes to exclude the Katana as well. Katana Nami, that is. Dilme Rabbanani. Maybe our Mishnah is according to the Rabban ulemuute begeres. When it says in our Mishnah Naira, as the Gemara started off with the Brais, it says Naira v'le begeres. But maybe that would include a Katana as well. So the Gemara is Emesulai, and we're not going to be memayet a Katana from this. So Ravina answered, you can't say this, because look at the lashon of the Mishnah. Hi, einay chayiv, ad shetehei naira besula meirasa. The Mishnah uses the term, you won't be chayiv until she comes to being a naira besula. Why does the Mishnah use that term? It could have said, einay chayiv el al naira. You only chayiv in a naira besula. Mayrasa, mibayale. That's what the Mishnah should have said. Ela naira b'sula mayrasa. What does it mean? Achetehei. Achetehei means until she comes to the age of being a naira. So that expression of the Mishnah shows that it's not only excluding a begeres, but it's also excluding a katana that hasn't yet come yet to this age. That's the diak of the lashon that Rav said that our Mishnah is according to Rab Meir. The Gemara concludes v'sulei midi. There's nothing else to be asked on this. It's a clear diak in the language of the Mishnah. Now, so according to this opinion, according to Rab Meir, so what did we say here? By a katana, this halacha of naira merasa does not apply. So now, based on this, by Rab Yaakov bar Ada Merav, Rab Yaakov bar Ada asks Rav, so now bal a katana, one that has a relation with a katana, which is a merasa, what's going to be the halacha? Rab Meir, mahu, according to Rab Meir, what's going to be the halacha here? Do I say legamri mimitle? That this case is totally excluded from what it says in the pasuk, and therefore the boil won't be chayiv any misa at all. Oy miskila mimitle. What the pasuk is saying is that he's not going to be chayiv the unique misa in this case, which is skila, but she's still an eishes, she's still a katana, which is ma'irasa, and you'll be chayiv chenek, the regular misa that there is by an eishes ish. Amalei. So Rav answered, mistavre. It's logical to say miskila mimayetle. That you only memayit from skila, but chenek you'll still be chayiv when it's a katana. So the Gemara asks on this, why are you saying this? But vaksiv in the pasuk when it speaks about this case of the naira mayrasa, so the pasuk says umesu gam shneim, that they both died, they're both chayiv misa. The naira mayrasa, she did this willingly, and the boil as well. They're both going to be chayiv misa. So what do you see from this? Achi yishneim shavin, that the chayiv misa for the boil is only if they're both equal. If it's a naira and she's already chayiv misa. By a katana though, if she is not chayiv misa because she's a katana, there's no chayiv misa for a katana. So it sounds like that then there's no chayiv misa for the boil either. So how could Rav say that in such a case there won't be any skila, but it'll still be chayiv chenek? Says the Gemara. Okay, this pasuk actually mesu gam shneim is not a pasuk that says by naira ma'irasa. It's a pasuk that says by every eshes ish. By every Eishes Ish, it says that you only chayiv for being mizana with an Eishes Ish if both Eishes Meisu Gam Shneim, when it applies to both of them. So over here, how can you say by a katana that the misa of skila by the naira merasa does not apply, but the misa of chenek does apply? But over there it says it has to be Gam Shneim. Shasik Rav. Rav was quiet when they asked him this question. He didn't answer. Shmuel. So Shmuel said, why was he quiet? My time is Shastik Rav. V'nei Malay. Why didn't Rav answer that there's a different pasuk that says differently? What does the pasuk say? Umeis ha'ish asher shachav ima levadei. That the man that lay with her alone, he alone is chayiv misa. In this pasuk it says that even if the man alone is chayiv misa, we give him the misa, even if the isha is not chayiv misa. Now the simple pshat of that pasuk is actually not talking about what we're talking about here. Here we're talking about a case where the man was mizana with a katana. And that's why it's only him that's chayiv misa, not the katana, because she's a katana. That pasuk that Shmuel is quoting is talking about another case by a person that was ma'anis a naira. He was ma'anis her, so therefore she's not going to be chayiv anything. It was by force, and only the man will die. But it's an extra pasuk. It already says there in the pasuk that tzaka naira, that she's not going to be chayiv. So this extra pasuk, Shmuel says, we learn out from there to apply it also to the case of a katana, that when only the man is chayiv and not the woman, the man will be chayiv chenek. So why didn't Rav bring the source from this pasuk? So the Gemara says, it says, so actually this discussion here is the machlokes Tanoim. Says the Gemara Tanoi, where did the Tanoim argue about this? Umeisu gam shneim, achi yushneim shavim divrei Rabbi Yoshia. Rabbi Yoshia says, like the question that was asked to Rav, it says Umeisu gam shneim, that you're only going to be chayiv if they're both equal, meaning if the man was mezana with a katana, then the boil will be potter. Rabbi Yonasan but Rabbi Yonasan says, Umeisa ish ashashachav imo lavadoi, that no, we learn out from the pasuk that we just quoted, lavadoi, that the man will be chayiv even if she's a katana. Okay, so now this we see it clearly. It's a machlokes Tanoim between Rabbi Yonasan and Rabbi Yeshia. Okay, so now the Gemara will explain how each one of these Tanoim learns the other pasuk that the other one brings. V'idach, now according to the other opinion, Hahiu Meisu Gam Shneim, my daughter Shpei. What does he learn out from this that it says? Why is the pasuk saying Meisu Gam Shneim? If, anyways, the halach is that we learn from Levadoi that the man is chayiv even when the woman is a katana. Omar Rava, so Rava answers, Gam Shneim teaches me another point, how this nus happened. It's coming to exclude a case where there wasn't a real relation between them. There was no real marital relations between them. It was just Maise Chidudim. He was doing something that gives him pleasure, but was no real relation. In such a case, it's not Gam Shneim, there's no hana to both of them, he'll be potter. That's what we learn out from there. According to the other opinion, what's the source for this, that you would be potter in such a case? That's not something that you need a special source to say that you will be potter for this. There's no pasuk needed. Now, according to the other opinion, what does he learn out from this extra pasuk where it says levadoi? If according to him, yechayev misa, even if the woman is a katana, so then what do you learn out from this that it says levadoi? Says the Gemara. Again, sorry, punkt fakert. According to the opinion that says that you're not going to be chayiv misa, and here in the pasuk it says levadoi, that you chayiv even if it's alone, so he has to be darshaning something else from this levadoi. What is he darshan from this levadoi? And says the Gemara, he darshans what it says in the Braise. Kedetanya, the Braise says, Bo aleh asara b'nei yodam va'adayni besula. In a case where 10 people had a relation with this Naira Meirasa, but even after all 10 had a relation with her, she's still a besula. Because they had a relation with her shaloi kedarka in an abnormal way, so she's still a besula. Kulam beskila. They're all going to be chayiv skila because she's still a besula. That's the Tanakama says. Rabbi Yoimeh, however, Rabbi says harishaim beskila v'kulam b'chenek. Only the first one will be chayiv skila. The others that follow, even though she's still a besula, will only be chayiv chenek because the pasuk says levade. Levade means only if you're the first one, the one that was mizana with her, then I say that the chayiv is skila. Otherwise, it's chenek. This goes back to the point that I said before in the Mishnah that according to Rebbe, if it's shaloi kedarka, then even the second one will be, even if it's shaloi kedarka, the second one will be chayiv chenek. Tana Rabbanon and a brayse that we learned. Gemara here is going to bring another brayse that's connected to this pasuk here that we're quoting. Umeisa ish ashashachav imo levadei. So this is a brayse that speaks about the bas kohen, which we learned already about Barichas earlier in the Masechta. Vas ish kohen ki seichel is nice. So over there, what's the halacha about the vas ish kohen? That she's chayiv sreifa. So now Rabbi Yoimeh, the brayse says, Rabbi says about this pasuk, tchila. The meaning of the word seichel means that she began. There's another pshat of the word teichel. Teichel could also mean to be mechalal, to desecrate herself. And we had that pshat earlier in the Masechta. But Rabbi says, no, it means tchila. This was the beginning. And then Rabbi says, this is similar to what the pasuk says, that it's like the pasuk that it says that we just quoted. Okay, so now what does he mean? What's the pshat in this brayse? What's the tchila? What's the v'cheinu oimer? My kama? What's Rabbi saying? So the Gemara here brings two pshatim. Omer Rav Huna b'rei Rav Yeshua. Rav Huna b'rei Rav Yeshua says the pshat is Rabbi k'Rabbi Shmuel svirele. Rabbi holds like the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel that we had earlier in the Masechta. What did Rabbi say about this? The Omar, Rabbi Shmuel that is, Rabbi Shmuel said, Arusa yatzal sreifa. This unique punishment of sreifa that there is by a bas kohen, that's only by an arusa, by the first stage of marriage. Then the sreifa. V'loy nesua. But if she's a eishes a regular eishes on nesua, over there her misa will be chenek. So therefore, this is what Rabbi is saying in his words, that we learn it out from the pasuk seichel. How? B'achikama im tchilas biyah. Biznos, if this is the first biyah that she was mizana, because she's still an arusa, she didn't have any relation with her husband yet, that she's still a besula, and that's what this nus was. Then bisreifa, only then she'll be chayiv the unique punishment of a bas kohen, which is sreifa. However, ve'idach, in another case, if she's already an asua, she had a relation with her husband, bechenek. then she's like a regular Eishes Ish, and her Misa will be Chenek. And we learn it from Seichel, because it's the first time she had a relationship with Mizana with this person. And now, my v'chein, what does it mean when it says that this is similar to what it says in the pasuk v'shachav that Omeisa Ish Shashachav V'Malavadai? The ki hasam that we compare to there, ma hasam betchilas bia mishtoi kra, just like over there, it's talking about a naira me'irasa, and she was a besula, and it was the first bia. This nus was the first bia. Hachanami betchilas bia kamishhtoi kra. Here as well, when it says the word seichel, it means it was the first time. That's one shot. My teacher didn't teach what Rebbe said in this brayso the way you just explained it. Manu, who's his teacher, Rav Yosef? And Rav Yosef had a different shot. He said that Rebbe k'Rav Meir svirelei. What Rebbe is saying in this brayso regarding the unique punishment of Sreifa by the Bas Kayin, what he's saying is like what Rav Meir said. The Amar Rav Meir says, Nis is le'echad min apsulin, a Bas Kayin that gets married to somebody that's puzzle, that she's not a person, a yid that's a puzzle yid, that she's not supposed to get married to. In such a case, misasa b'chenek, the unique misa of Sreifa does not apply to her. She gets the regular misa of chenek. Now, what's the meaning of what Rebbe is saying? This is what Rebbe is saying. Im tchilas achalasa biznos b'sreifa. If this is the first time that she's desecrating herself, then it's sreifa. But if she was already desecrated from before because she already got married to someone that's pasul b'chenek, then the punishment of the misa, when she was mizana with someone while she's an Eishes Ish, will be chenek. That's what we learn out from here. Like Rab Meir. My v'chein, according to this opinion, what's the v'chein? Again?
She was a chayav seifa before, the first one.
No, the first one she got married. If she got married to a apostle, it's not a, yeah, it does. To a mamzer, it's allowed. It's no. My v'chein, according to this pshat, what's the v'chein? Simona ba'alma. We're not really comparing, we're not learning out anything from there. It's just a simon ba'alma that the pasuk here is talking about someone that was machal the first time. Just like by the naira meirasa, she was disnussed the first time. Over here, we're learning out that when it says mechalel, kiseichel, that is, kiseichel means that it's the first time that she passed herself. That's the comparison, that's the v'chein.